All right.
Are we hot?
We're hot.
Holy cow.
What's up?
We're really doing it, man.
Here we are.
This is so weird. I don't think I've done radio interviews and stuff like that, but I've never just sat across from one of my friends and talked about nonsense. Nonsense.
Well, you have, just not in front of a microphone.
Yeah, we never recorded anything.
This is where it gets dangerous.
Yeah. Welcome, guys. Here we are. We're on Twangtown, I guess.
Yeah, episode number 1.
We literally have no idea what we're doing, but we're all going to get through it together.
That's right.
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to talk to people that we know. We're going to talk about songs. We're going to talk about industry people, food, everything Nashville. Typically it's going to be geared toward, I think, some songs because I am a songwriter. Colt is a publisher. So you're going to get the behind the scenes and the know-how, how some songs are creative and crafted and cornered and cut.
Oh, wow. Big words.
Yeah, it's a lot of alliteration.
You're so smart.
Professional songwriter.
I don't know if I've met anybody smarter than you.
The fish this weekend were smarter than me.
What did we do this weekend?
We went to Montana.
Montana.
Yeah. We went to play some songs in Montana. Colt and I went to this wonderful ranch. It's called the Meadows.
The Meadows on Rock Creek.
Rock Creek, yeah.
In Phillipsburg, Montana.
In Phillipsburg. If you don't know where that is, you're not the only one. It's about 2.5 hours, I guess, northwest of Bozeman. I'm just going to mispronounce every city in Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Missoula. It's about an hour and a half southeast of Missoula. But we went out there and we played some songs. We tried to write some songs. We fished.
Yeah.
We shot the guns.
Shotguns.
Yeah. And we
Ripped
ate.
lips.
We ate. We were merry. We were very merry. It's a wonderful place. We had never fly fished before.
What did you learn about fly fishing?
You have to mend. Yeah. It's different. We've both fished all our lives, but
yeah. So they pretty much said, whatever you know about bass fishing or whatever, just throw it all out the window.
Yeah.
Because this is a whole new animal. And they were right. Very right.
Yeah. It's intimidating. It's scary. I never thought I'd be scared of a 5'7" man and with a beard
named Jack
going, mend. You're not doing it right, man.
Yeah. No,
they were very patient. Will Hensley is the general manager there of the ranch. Jack was one of our guides. Both Will and Jack both helped us out. And man, I tell you what, I told Philip Lammons, who is a songwriter friend of ours, that it's zen. It's very zen to be out there fly fishing in the middle of a creek in Montana.
Oh yeah, totally.
With the mountains. But it was good. And we got back and we're back to reality today.
It's so boring now.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're back.
No black bears, no moose, no badgers.
Oh, we saw moose.
Yeah.
Moose and squirrel.
Moose and squirrel.
Yeah, I saw a snake.
Did you?
Too. Yeah, a little garter snake.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Well, it's when I was fishing without you. When you were sleeping in the cabin.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a rough day that day.
Yeah, the altitude sickness is real, guys. And Colt had a bit of it.
A lot of it.
A lot.
3 times.
But yeah, it was just right on my feet. And then got back, and this was the first time I guess I've written since we got back.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It was good. Wrote with Pryor Baird, who's an artist on... I'm not telling Colt this, I'm telling you out in the world. Pryor Baird, he's an artist on Black River, wonderful singer. He was on The Voice. He was on Blake's team. That's Blake Shelton. Not Blake Sheldon. Shelton. And Joe Leathers, who's another friend of ours, right here at Curb with me. Wrote a good song. Yeah.
Good.
About all things country.
Is he going to cut it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
You're very confident.
Well, who can be confident these days? You don't know what people like and people don't like. It's when we set out to write songs, you can try to gear it toward a certain artist, but for the most part, you're just throwing something, hoping it sticks. And Colt, I know you can expound on that too. It's the Wild West, and there's a bunch of gunslingers, and you never know who's going to win.
Sure, the landscape's always changing.
Yeah.
So, speaking of your songwriting stuff, let's talk about you. I love talking about you. Tell everybody like how you got your start and how you got to Nashville and where you're from and all that stuff.
I grew up in East Kentucky in a town called Hindman, Hindman, Kentucky. It's right outside Hazard, Kentucky. And I moved to Nashville in 1998. I was going to college and decided I wasn't smart enough for college. So I figured songwriting would be the right way to go. And I moved here, and I sang my whole life. And, that's what I wanted to do. And of course, when I got here, I got a job at Applebee's because that's what we do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I worked at Applebee's for a year and a half. Excuse me. But I met a guy there named Jeff Smith, and he would get together with his friends from North Carolina, and they were all songwriters. And so I started going and hanging out with them, and they basically taught me how to write songs and taught me how terrible my songs were after I started writing. But I kept at it, and I was going around with I'll tell who he is later in the story. A guy named Chad Warricks, and he was from back home, and he went to Belmont down here, Belmont University, and he was playing gigs all around. He would go all over the Southeast United States with a band called Sodium. So I would ride around in the box van with Chad and the rest of the band, and I would carry their guitars and tune their guitars terribly. I was the worst roadie in the history of mankind. I remember one time they have these pedal tuners. They're called Boss pedal tuners. And to tune, you step on it, and it mutes the guitar, and you tune. Well, there's a little red button at the top, which indicates sharp or flat. When that button's on, it's sharp. I didn't realize this. So I tuned one of those.
That was where it was supposed to be.
I thought it was in, man. So I tuned it and I gave it to Chad. And he hits the first note, and it's all completely different than what everybody else is playing. And then he takes it off and slings it back across the stage. Very, very aggressively. It was very rude in my direction. But Chad and I, he had a manager, and Chad was like, "Hey, you should hear David sing." So I played him some songs, and he's like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "Well, I want to write songs. I want to be an artist. I've been doing this as long as I can remember." And so I started working with him, and he had this guy named Ben Vaughn. And at the time, Ben Vaughn was at a small publishing company called Big Tractor. So Christopher Washko was the manager and became my manager. I shared some of my songs with Ben, and Ben was like, "Wow, okay, that's cool. Once you wait just a little bit, because I'm going to another publishing company called EMI." And EMI at the time was the biggest music publisher in the world. And soon thereafter, I signed a publishing deal, which publishing deal is you get paid to write songs. My contract was very tiny.
Which means not being paid very much money.
I wasn't getting paid very much, but it gave me freedom to write songs and, meet people in the industry. I met Colt through that. I met, Jamie Johnson, Lee Bryce, Luke Bryan, Randy Hauser. And I kept writing and writing and writing. And I started playing shows around town at a place called 3rd and Lindsley. And Chad, who actually had signed a record deal with Universal and put a couple singles out, and it never did win anywhere. Not for them. They were very talented, but sometimes that just happens. And I said, "Chad, you want to come play some shows?" And sure. So we played, and the more we played together, the more it just like, oh, there's something special here. So we decided to be a duo. And we called ourselves the Redneck Rock Stars. And we would play at 3rd and Lindsley, and we would play every Monday night, like at 6 o'clock. So everybody getting off work at Music Row would come over and watch us play.
Yeah, I went to a couple of those.
Yeah, and it started out with like 2 people. We were like, what are we doing? And then it got bigger and bigger, and then you couldn't get in the door. And it was a who's who of Nashville industry. I mean, I remember one night I looked out and there's Miranda Lambert sitting in the crowd, John Rich, Big and Rich, Byron Gallimore, who produced Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, Jody Messina, Sugarland, just a plethora of artists, a very famous producer. I had never seen Byron's face before. So we get done playing one night, and this little man with a goatee walks on stage and goes, "Hey, you boys is really good." I'm like, "Thank you, sir. Appreciate that." He goes, "I'm Byron Gallimore. I'd like to work with you if I could." And we're like, "Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool." And from that moment on, Byron brought in his biggest artist, you would say, Tim McGraw.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of him.
Yeah. So Tim came in and watched us, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, cool. Let's do this." And Luke Lewis, who is the president of Universal Music Publishing, or not publishing, good Lord, that's so stupid. Records. They make records. Universal Records came out, and somehow, I don't exactly remember, they decided to work together on us. So we signed a record deal with Universal Mercury and Tim McGraw's label, which was called Style Sonic at the time. And we went in and started recording, and we had written this song with a guy named Anthony Smith called Daisy. And we knew that there was something special about this song. So that was our first single. We released it to radio. We started doing a radio tour, which a radio tour is where you get up really early and you go on the radio and you play your song. Sometimes this is 4 a.m. Sometimes this is 6 a.m. And sometimes this is afternoon. Sometimes this is midday. You never know. But you fly all around the country and you go to different radio stations and you play this song, which you're promoting. Every artist does this. I don't care who you were, who you are, or who you think you are. You have to do this. So we went around promoting this song. And in the meantime, Tim asked us to go on tour. And by this time, we had changed our name to Halfway to Hazard from the Redneck Rock Stars, because Universal didn't really like the name the Redneck Rock Stars.
I wonder why.
Because it sucked. I don't know.
I wasn't going to say it.
No, they were like, "We want to get you guys away from the redneck image." And we're like, "Oh, cool. Whatever."
Is it as bad as when Lone Star was Texas-y?
They were what?
Texas-y?
Texas-y?
Yeah. Remember when John Rich was part of Lone Star? And their name was Texas-y.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'd never heard that before.
Yeah. So it was a horrible name, so they changed to Lone Star.
You know, Lee Bryce used to be Lisa's Bryce.
Well, he still is in his mind.
Yeah. So they changed our name. When we came up with the first song we ever wrote, Chad and I wrote together. It was a song called Cold. And the first lineup was Halfway to Hazard with the rain coming down. And so we're like, "Oh, that's great. Let's do that." So here we go. Produced by Tim, Byron, single on the radio. McGraw calls one day and goes, "Hey, you guys want to come out on the road with us?" I'm like, "Who's us?" Me and Faith, the Soul to Soul 2007 tour. So within 6 months, we had signed a record deal, had a single on the radio, and we're on tour. We're on the biggest tour of the summer. I mean, Faith Hill, she was out there, of course, you know. Taylor Swift was out there opening up shows. Us, the Warren Brothers, just a bunch of different artists but we were mainstays. Lance Miller was out with us. We rode. It was me and Chad and Lance Miller. He was on Warner Brothers at the time. And it was 12 bunks on a bus. And they were all filled with dudes. So we
smelly
spent,
to quite smelly.
My God, it's so bad. We spent, we went 90 days straight on that bus at one point.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it smelled terrible when we got off. But we would do radio in the mornings to promote our single. And then we would go and we would do sound check for the outside stage, because you also do that when you're a new artist. You play all the time.
For free. Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
We play the outside stage, which was called the My Gig stage at the time. It was a Jeep product. It was like CarPlay for Jeep.
Oh, yeah.
And then we would go in and sound check for this VIP thing that McGraw would do for just a select group of people. So we go in and sound check for that. And then we would go sound check for the main stage. Then we would go play the outside stage and bust hind in to get to the inside of the arena where the VIP thing was taking place. I mean, just sweat and running in cowboy boots is one of the worst things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a really hot Southwest flight with no room in your seat.
Exactly.
And smells,
Yeah.
Yeah. We would play the VIP thing, and then we would go play the main stage. And then after that, we would go, oh, is there a ghost in here?
There is now.
What is going on? Ooh, in a world, one man plays the outside stage.
Oh, wow.
I don't
That was
know.
really good.
Thank you. I should do voiceover stuff. No, we would go play the inside, and then after that, we would go meet with radio, and we would play some club that night. So we were playing 6 times a day sometimes. And that was very taxing, but it's an amazing opportunity, amazing jobs. And we had a long run. The next year we toured with Aldine and McGraw, and that took years off my life.
Why?
Because it's a lot of work out there. A lot of Marlboro Reds and whiskey with those two at that time. No, Jason was great, man. He was just hitting his stride, and he was cranking up and put on a hell of a show. McGraw was killing it. We were a great band. And then, it's like Nashville, Nashville, sometimes it just doesn't work out like you think it's going to, which is no fault. We had some stuff happen at the label, but I have no regrets about where I was and where I am. After that, kind of took a break and then went back and wrote for McGraw. I wrote for his publishing company for a while, and then I went and wrote for this little small boutique company called Three Hounds. And then after that, I came here, and now I'm right full time at Curb.
Yes.
Word.
Yes.
Music Publishing. And I'm
times.
happy to be here. Colt's been a really good friend of mine for the better part of 20 years, and here we are doing a podcast for some reason.
Yeah. Never saw that coming.
So tell us a little bit about yourself there, Colt.
Yeah, well, my story isn't nearly as exciting, but, that's just how the business end of it is, So I moved to Nashville in 99 when I was 16. Finished high school here from Texas. Finished high school, went to Belmont University, where your buddy Chad went.
The Bruins.
Yes, go Bruins. I had been around some folks who were in the music business, and when I was still in high school, and I had a really cool group of songwriters that I knew, and they were really cool, and every now and then would let me in their world. And I remember one time some guys let me come to their demo session, and I was like, oh man, this is really cool. And just watching the song or the musicians track the songs and do their thing, and they just crank out a song in 10 minutes, and my mind was just blown. And so being the 17-year-old kid at the time, I had like 30,000 questions, and they were like, man, if you're really into this, you should check out Belmont. I was like, what's Belmont? They're like, oh, well, they have a music business program there. I'm like, wait, you can go to college and learn about music business and major in that? Like, yeah. Because growing up, like, my dad's side of the family is real musical, and I always loved music, but never really thought about hey, there's a business side to all this. And so I checked out Belmont. I really liked it. Enrolled, got in, and, started taking classes. I really loved that. And then after a couple of years, I started interning. Loved that. I interned at the original BMG, the one before Universal bought it, and got to work with a lot of amazing people and songwriters. I mean, at that time, that publishing roster had like just superstars like Luke Laird and Craig Wiseman had just left, but David Lee and David Frazier and Justin Weaver and so many more I can't even think of right now. But I mean, just huge. And just the learning opportunities I got there, how to run a publishing company from a major standpoint was really cool. And after a year of being there, I wanted to try and branch out and get some different experience. And so I had a friend who knew a guy named John Ozier, who was working at Curb at the time, and he was on the record label side of things. And I met with him, and he said, "Yeah, I think their publishing needs an intern." He goes, "But if you want records, this is a really small company, and you can learn from everybody at the same time." I was like, "Well, okay, that's cool." So I met with Drew Alexander, who was running the publishing department at the time, and him and Portis Tanner was the creative director.
Portis,
character of characters. And so I was like, "Yeah, this is cool. This is like an independent label and publishing company, and I can learn publishing and I can get some record label experience and all that." And at the time, McGraw was the top dog artist. And then they also had Leanne Rimes, and they just signed Trick Pony and Ira.
Yeah. God bless. That's another good buddy of ours, Ira Dean. He was the bass player that used to ride his bass all over the stage in Trick Pony.
Yeah. And so when I got close to graduation, a position in the publishing department opened up, tape copy guy or catalog manager, whatever you want to call it. And so they offered me a job, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So I just felt really fortunate to have a job before I got out of college.
Right.
Because, I think at that time it was really hard to get jobs, even though Belmont was cranking out kids left and right. So, that was January of 2005. And I've been here ever since. I just kind of slowly rose my way up through the ranks and all the way to where I am now.
Yeah,
so.
I remember when you were an intern. I think the first time I met you, you were working a golf tournament. And back then, we would go hard for a while, and I just barely remember seeing Colt. But yeah, I watched him come up, man, and I'm so proud of you. He's risen up here to be senior vice president of whatever we're at, right?
Just vice president.
Just
I'm not that important yet.
You're not that important?
No.
You're senior in my heart, bro.
Well, thank you, Dad.
Yeah. Did you just call me Dad? But yeah, that's our
You're bossing me around for the past week. I'd start calling you Dad.
Dude, you got to learn how to travel, bro. You got to get that TSA get that global entry.
I got priors, man.
Priors?
Just joking.
Yeah. Yeah, But we're looking forward to this. Colt approached me with it. He was like, "Do you want to do a podcast?" And at first I'm like, that's probably a terrible idea for me to speak anywhere,
right,
that people can hear
and have it recorded for eternity.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been to my shows, you'll understand after a while on this podcast what could come out of this mouth. But he approached me, and I was like, "Man, you know what? Why not? Let's give it a roll." And we're just starting out. We don't, like I said, we don't really know what we're doing, but we're going to do it. We're going to bring everything Nashville into this. And, I know a lot of people are coming here. It's become, I think it's the number one destination for bachelor and bachelorette parties.
Yeah, I think Vegas is number one for bachelors, but Nashville's definitely number one for bachelorettes.
A lot of woo. There's a lot of woo here now.
Yeah, we call them the woo girls.
The woo girls.
Yeah.
But Nashville has really come up since I've been here. Like I said, I moved here in 1998, and it's a completely different town. And there's so many other things to do besides music. Music is our livelihood, and it is a lot of people's livelihoods. That's what Nashville was founded on. And that's what everyone knows. It's Music City, USA. But the food here is amazing. And there's so many things to do in town and outside of town. And we want to show you everything that we like to do that we think you would like to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we'd like to take you behind the scenes of this wonderful music business. And we're going to bring in our friends. We're going to bring in songwriters. We're going to bring in athletes. We're going to bring in anybody that we can come in here
Pretty much.
and sit and talk to us for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. And we hope that you guys will join us on this little journey that we've got.
Yeah.
And we thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, Colt?
Man, I don't know.
That's a lot.
That was a lot.
I think we can actually do this.
Yeah.
If we can both get unsick, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, airport funk.
All I hear is myself going when you're talking. I'm like, I sound like I'm 400 pounds. And I can't, I don't know if you all have ever been on an airplane. I guess most of you have. But the air pressure, when you have a sinus infection, then you get on an airplane and it just locks in there, man. And I think that's where we are right now.
Yeah, we sat next to a person who had a lot of sneezing and nose blowing going on, and
She had a lot going on.
Yeah.
I don't really care ever to see her again.
Why?
I hope she does well in life.
What'd you do to you?
She hurt my soul. She blew her nose all over me. God bless Southwest. That middle seat is everyone's ire.
Yeah, they mean well.
If they just had the 2-seaters, like a 2, a 2, and a 2.
Oh, yeah.
I just solved Southwest problems right there.
Just 2 aisles?
No more middle seats.
Yeah.
Which I have a song called Group C Middle Seat. So.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, y'all should go check it out. David Oliver Music. Stream. Yeah, please go put my music on and stream it all the time because Colt, is my publisher and we'd like to make money.
Yeah, well, I don't make any of the money, but I'm here to support you in your livelihood.
Well, yes, you are. But, we don't know what's going to happen next week.
We've got someone lined up for next week.
Yeah, but we don't know what's going to happen.
That's right.
Next week.
Yeah, hopefully it goes good.
Yeah, hopefully it does.
We just need good or average, and I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, but thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, and you can check us out on our socials, Instagram, Twingtown Pod, Twitter, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You can stream us on all streaming platforms, Apple Podcast, Spotify.
Podcast.
Amazon Music.
Podcast?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say podcast over everything. Podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to get better at this outro thing, but yeah.
Yeah, like I said.
Stream us, find us, talk about us.
This is our outro.
Tell your friends, tell your parents.
And here comes the Twangtown music. Bye-bye.
All right. Adios.